All right, Hafidi guys, and welcome to another edition of the One Micronesia Podcast. Like I said, this next couple of episodes, we're going to be talking to awesome individuals, awesome organizations, groups who have really stepped up and helped with the Micronesian community here on Guam and elsewhere, and also bringing together this message of unity. And of course, with us today on the show, we have the one and only Jacki Marati from the Bank of Guam.
Marati.
Marati, I'm so sorry, Jacki Marati
Okay.
from the Bank of Guam with us. Jacki, for those who don't know, tell us your position and what you do for the Bank of Guam.
I'm in charge of communications and probably most importantly, corporate social responsibility with the bank.
That's awesome. And so, Jacki, thank you so much for your time with us here. So, real quick, let's just go ahead and start from the beginning. For those who don't know, Bank of Guam's history or the connection with our Micronesian brothers and sisters.
We have been in the Micronesian islands for decades, really prompted and started by our founder, Jesus Leongaro, who not only had an opportunity to expand when we were really, really young, but he also knew the importance of the connectedness among all of the islanders, and that we really had very major and common interests. And his goal was always not only to empower our community, but also assure that we had the kind of education that would allow us to develop and to depend on ourselves.
So let's go talk about some of those activities that you guys have helped out with.
So we have worked very closely with a number of programs. As a matter of fact, between some of the events that we've worked with, what our goal really is to work closely with the community again on financial empowerment, because that we believe is really the key to success, not only now, but in the future. So we work very closely with schools, with groups, with associations, wherein our presence and our participation in what they're learning to do and how they can be empowered is really the ultimate objective. Because like I said, you can help with, one event, two events. It's not about the events. It's what do we learn from those events so that we're constantly connected throughout the year and going forward, and it cannot be a transaction. It is a relationship we're seeking to build, because we know that connection in the community is so critical, and we're seeing that even more importantly now. I know that we have worked very closely with the Falan Association, which is a large group here, as well as some of the infrastructure that they have worked to build. We also are working right now with the FSM Association of Guam. We have had discussions with them with regard to what the real needs are. And so we're looking to provide resources to them now. So as we have an employee drive to collect the basics and the necessities for the community, because it's once those basics are met, other things can be done. And we know it's that everybody, it doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing, you are somehow being affected and oftentimes suffering a burden. And those are the kinds of things we need to really work on. We've been working on with other groups in terms of providing financial empowerment programs for those people who are looking to buy houses, for those people who are looking for assistance. In the very beginning, when PUA first started, we had some individuals that were helping because there was a lack of devices and computers, and most importantly, that application is really confusing, and it was confusing for many people. You didn't have to have English be as a second language to have a difficulty for that. So we did some outreach for a number of the community members to make sure that we were helping them to get the financial assistance that they were entitled to.
And that's amazing. I think that was the key thing especially during this time where you talked about it, where they threw out the first when PUA first started, that whole application process was hard for everybody. And I think and I think
Everyone,
yeah,
every
so I think having to break it down, and because you guys are the number people, you guys know exactly what it means, what each questions entail to. So having breaking that down for the community, that was a big thing. It was a big help, and you see a lot of people are getting all that help that they need today, especially those who are unemployed. Um, so
and here's the thing, Victorious. Um, it's not just helping them and we don't see you after we've helped you to get PUA, because as we all know, PUA ends in December, and we're already raising the question, how do we continue to help the community, particularly after December when that ends, because that's going to be a very people are going to be suffering even worse than they are now. And so how can we make sure that we know that, and we can extend our hands and reach them as well. Also, we work with a lot of social services, Harvest House, which is a foster child community. Their numbers have grown. The food banks, we have contributed and had drives to go for the food banks because their needs have grown and are growing, as well as some of the victims groups that have also seen an increase in their need. I mean, one of the things that we're commemorating right now and really being very aware of is Mental Awareness Month. And we realize that we're now really valuing the importance of a good, stable mental health in our community. One of the things that we've been doing recently is we've been speaking with different mayors, and a lot of them are saying that they run out of food when they're at the food bank. They know of people who can't meet some of those requirements, and they're looking for there's a gap. There's those who can, and then there's those who are eligible, and then there's those who are not eligible but still have a need. And we're working with the mayors to answer to these needs, because it's not just about the money, but it's also being aware that there are needs that our community has.
I'm going to move on to the next part of the question here that I have set up here. And now, because when I opened up the podcast, I mentioned that the key message to these next couple of podcasts would be about unity. So this next question is about what do you think? Why do you think diversity is important?
Diversity is richness. Diversity is richness of experience, of perspective, of values, of culture. Diversity is such a needed value and to our lives. I think that with diversity comes a greater understanding, not only of people's beliefs, but also, of spirituality. There is that need to see the differences in people that actually kind of boomerangs back to us, and we see our own differences, and we learn a lot about ourselves. And I think oftentimes that when you've been through a journey where you have felt undervalued, perhaps an afterthought, once you feel that, you really believe that you don't want anyone to ever feel that way. And so diversity has been key to the Bank of Guam's development in the communities. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have branches in nearly all of Micronesia. And we're very proud of not only the people that we've trained, but also the leaders that we've developed and trained out there. And so, our goal is to bring that kind of confidence and that kind of value to the islands, that they can in turn continue to grow within.
And I want to go back to the statement you made where, the different branches and the islands, because I think that's really key to creating or building a bank in the islands. And then I'm going to speak from my experience because I'm from Yap. And when Bank of Guam first came to Yap, you guys sent over the awesome, and God rest his soul in heaven, Mr. Alcantara. I believe
Steve,
uh, he was the first
Steve.
manager. Yeah, Steve Alcantara. I remember him. I did. When I was working at the radio station back home, I recorded that first Bank of Guam promo that was going to air on Yap, and he came in and we did the recording. So I got to finally meet him. He was such an amazing person, and found out years later he passed. It was really sad to see such an amazing soul, be taken.
Broke our hearts. Broke our hearts.
So when we saw him come home, everybody in the Yap loved him. But after he passed, and the fact that you guys built a bank back home and you guys kind of localized it where you reached out to the community, and now the bank being run by a I believe still a local girl, Yapese girl back home. So it's such a big thing to see. The different employees rise up through the ranks and having them lead back home is such a big thing, and I love it, and I see it every day.
Yeah, we're really proud because I think in the beginning, what we generally do is we generally bring someone from Guam, and they kind of go there and teach everybody, the ropes about how things are done at the bank. But ultimately, the goal is for the islanders to manage and to build and to be responsible for our development there, and to assure that the community also is the recipient. I just got something. It's so funny. I just got something from our Majuro branch, and they're in the middle of doing some really important sports events there. But it's not just about the events, but it's being a part of the community. It's Bank of Guam being in Yap or Kosrae or Pohnpei or Palau, Chuuk or Majuro. I mean, that's the important thing. You represent us to them, but more importantly, you represent their needs to us, because we listen to what the needs are. We listen to how things are different. And most importantly, I think we look out for opportunities where, if there are growth opportunities in the islands, we really keep a sharp eye for that. And we try to work very closely with the government just to see those opportunities and ideas come to fruition.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So the next part here is we're going to talk about how does Bank of Guam celebrate diversity and ensure inclusion?
The most important thing, Victorious, is how you recruit, train, promote, and improve the lives of our employees. Because I guess I said ultimately they are the ones that live the bank for us, and they are the ones that bring back the messages and the listening tour, shall we say, back to us. So I think if you are going to look at true diversity, you need to also look at inclusion, including our employees in decision making, including our employees in the key projects that we're thinking about, and also providing fairness, and that is fairness in having an opportunity to develop, to make decisions for the community. Those are the kinds of things because it's not just diversity. You need to, because you can have the numbers. You can have the numbers with regard to here's the percentage and the gender and age and all of that stuff. But ultimately, it really is about giving people a fair shot, giving people a fair shot to prove what they can do to represent the organization, and at the same time to speak for their community and assure that their community has a voice, because giving voice to those people and those communities is critical, and that's an opportunity that is critical for us, and in terms of how we develop the people that we work with, because we work with our employees. They don't work for us. We work together, and I think that's a really critical message. Again, fair chance, fair shot.
And I gotta say, I wanted to throw this, I just didn't know where to throw. But the branches, the different branches here on Guam. I remember specific because I go to the Harmon one because KOM is in Harmon, so the closest one.
Right.
So that's my bank, and I go there every single payday. And the thing that always catches my eye is a picture of the Yappies men's house inside the branch. And it's not only there, you go to the different branches and you see the different island pictures being posted up. And I believe you guys did update the ATMs and it had all the greetings from the different islands. So it's those little things that you guys have incorporated that really goes a long way. It actually makes us from the different some islands here on Guam feel included. Like we see those things like, oh, okay, like you see your greeting on the ATMs, you see a picture uh, the islands, the different parts of Yap, Chuk, Ponape on in the different branches, and that you walk in and you're waiting in line and you see those pictures, and you're like, oh wow, that's I know that place, or that's home, that's back home. So when you talk about inclusion, I think those little small things are key, and you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you. It really is about belonging and feeling you belong there, wherever branch you are, and where you see our colleagues working for you and trying to do their very best. It's really a sense of belonging. I belong here. I just want to touch one point about the neighboring island branches, because it was a decision that was made when Mr. Guerrero was still alive, and it was an expensive decision. And I don't know if you know this, but if you have an account in Yap and you come and you deposit money to your account in Yap here at Harmon, it's the same system. It's as if you were doing the transaction in Yap. At the time that decision was made in the 80s, that was viewed as not only a very expensive decision, but the leadership said, we have to, you want to talk about feeling as one and feeling like you all belong. It was that important that we make that investment, because ultimately the investment made our whole network one. It didn't matter where you were. If you made a decision, if you made a deposit at a Bank of Guam branch, it was going to be in your account, just like that. And those are the decisions that have been made to strengthen our organization and to assure that we give all of our customers and all of our communities that level of service and inclusion and belonging that is really important. Because otherwise, all the machines are the same. The outside of the branches might look the same, but ultimately what makes the difference is what's inside, the people who are inside, and the people who care enough to make those extra decisions make a difference for the community. That's what's the most important thing.
I gotta say, because you mentioned that part where when that decision was made with the transactions and the same being the accounts being the same, I gotta thank you guys so much, because I have a Bank of Guam account, and mainly because I could easily send money or transfer money to my parents back home. And back in the day, I guess it was so hard because you need to do a lot of transferring, a whole transaction, which takes like
And
3 or 4 days.
and
But now
and it
it's just
costs money, and it costs money to do that. Here, it's like it's the same account.
Yep, exactly.
You
So,
know?
I put, like they need money like for something later on. I put money today and they get it and they use it. So it's that simple thing that we keep going back to. It's those little simple things that the Bank of Guam has done that's really that's key to bringing together the islands, and that's amazing. Like I said, thank you guys so much.
Happy to. I think the decision, while it was difficult at the time, and while people saw that it was much too expensive because we had just gotten into the islands, I think that strategically, it was the best decision to make. It really was.
And
But thank you. Thank you for
and
the opportunity.
yeah, I mean, not only me and my family, but to the many families from the islands. You have people flying here and for the reason of studying and finding a job and finding a great opportunity. And when we get that, we're supposed to at one point try to help out our families back home. And Bank of Guam, and money is a key thing in the world right now. So Bank of Guam bridging that gap is was such an it's such a way to show that that's how we become one.
I think one more thing, if I can add, is that, every year we have the EFIT Scholarship, and that's 5 scholarships we give to 5 students. And it consists of a grant, a couple of $1,000, plus a paid internship, summer internship with a bank. In the last couple of years, more and more of the awardees have been coming from the islands, to the point that this year, of the 5, 2 of them were in Pohnpei. One was from Chuuk and the other one was from Saipan. And I know, because I was part of the reading team, because we read essays and we watched the videos that they produced. And these students are just so stellar. And it was hard even to get 5. I remember, it was like, if I could give so many more, I would. But I think there's so much wisdom there is for very young students, and there's so much drive, and at the same time, Victoria's, there's so much humility. They are incredibly humble young adults, who are unafraid to speak their minds, but also deeply respectful, very, very respectful. I mean, the young kids we get a chance to know, I mean, those are the blessings of this job. And it's not a job, by the way.
I mean, you've made it your life, and to help out, and it's especially the goals and what you guys are putting in place, been putting in place, and continue to do. It's such an awesome thing that's helping out every single everybody here on Guam and out on the island. So such an awesome thing. I guess the next question is, we all face challenges here and there, and everybody does face challenges. Now, what kind of challenges has the Bank of Guam faced in regards to inclusion?
I think that it's in including others, and including our colleagues, and including our communities. There's always a sense, in including those, are we at the same time perhaps missing other opportunities? And when I say opportunities, in a way, that opportunities for the community. And so our challenge is to include as many and to support as many as we can, but still make sure that inclusion is meaningful. We have so many, for a teeny tiny island, we have so many island communities that are represented here. And what we don't want is to miss the opportunity to help as many as we possibly can, because that's always the challenge. How do we, if resources were unlimited, that would be one thing, but resources always are. And I don't mean money, I mean people, and I mean time, and I mean heart. And our goal would always be to do something that has meaning and that has impact. And we look to have as much of an impact in many of of the relationships that we have. And so we don't want to lose anybody or leave anyone behind. And that's always the challenge. And sometimes we learn, and that's okay. Sometimes we learn that maybe it could have gone to another group, or it could have gone to another group. And we learn, but here's the thing, we learn fast and we make decisions quickly, and all our decisions are local. And so, we're able to pivot when the need is there.
Awesome. Amazing. So I guess we're on to our last and final question here. Such an amazing talk so far.
Thank you.
The last one, the last question is, the name of the podcast is One Micronesia. So what does One Micronesia mean to the Bank of Guam?
I think overall, we look at a One Micronesia as a sustainable Micronesia. And when we talk about sustainability, we don't talk just about our environment and our ecology that surrounds us. Most importantly, we talk about the social side of sustainability. How do we sustain ourselves? How do we sustain our cultures and our languages? how do we sustain ourselves food-wise so that we have food security? How do we sustain ourselves so that we have adequate health care and education and opportunities? That's what One Micronesia, I think, means to us. And that is, how do we sustain and build and develop and change as needed? Because I think that's the one thing that this pandemic has taught us. And that, we talk about, oh, we want to go back to normal. We want to go back to normal. But you know what? Maybe normal wasn't all that great.
True.
Maybe normal wasn't all that great for a lot of people.
Oh, and we talk
Knowing
about.
that.
Sorry, I'm gonna. We did talk about that. You talk about being normal. I don't think we're ever gonna be go back to normal. This is the new norm, and we have to figure out how to go from here on.
And I think that new normal needs to understand that we made mistakes in the past, and that whatever wasn't working in the old normal, it's our duty to fix that. It's our duty, because we've seen it now, and it's our duty to make a difference and to make an impact. And that's where the organization stands.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love it. Jacki, thank you so much for your time. We had an awesome time. I learned so much.
It was
Things that
fun.
I didn't know about the Bank of Guam and its duties and its events that you guys are putting together for Guam and for the whole Micronesia. You guys are awesome. And thank you again, Jacki, for your time.
It's a real pleasure. It's so nice to finally meet you. I hear you, and I see you and all that stuff, but it's nice to have a nice conversation with. Call me anytime. See you
Thank you so much,
later.
Jacki.
Take
All right,
care.
guys.
Bye.
That pretty
Bye.
much concludes another edition of the One Micronesia Podcast. Key theme here is unity, and we're going to be talking to a lot more organizations that have played a key role in making that theme a thing, unity. So thank you guys so much for watching. That pretty much concludes another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast. You guys have a great and awesome one, and be safe. Thank you so much, Jacki.